Welcome to another Friday night. This is On Fire Family, and this is Happy Hour. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, normally what we do is we pull up Yacht World and go shopping for a great loop boat on our Friday nights, and we've done that many a times, but as we get closer and closer to our Great Loop adventure, which starts in 11 months from this week, we are giving kind of a monthly update on where we're heading, what we're up to, sometimes about boat stuff, sometimes about life stuff that we're doing to prepare us. And this is kind of a little bit of a mixed bag update tonight. So if you're used to our normal yacht shopping happy hours, that's not tonight. Subscribe, you'll see that next week. I don't know what we'll look at, but another boat on Yacht World. But tonight, our monthly update, a few things to cover. So we have a boat here in Portland, Oregon that we need to sell before we buy our Great Loop boat and commence our loop in 11 months. And so we were getting really, really close. We got like two full price offers the first day we listed it, and had guys come down and put deposits. It was weird.
The weather was nice and everybody wanted a boat.
And it was early in boating season. It was awesome. Both of those buyers fell through. Then a third buyer wanted to live aboard, which is a really difficult thing to do, and had no boating experience. But we worked together.
It's not difficult to do it. It's difficult to find a marina
that'll allow it in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Because of real estate and marinas and insurance and such. But we got all those pieces worked out over about a month's time. He got financing, he got insurance. We found him a live aboard slip that was vacated and ready to go.
Yeah, Seth did a lot of legwork for this guy.
And his wife gave it a thumbs down on the whole live aboard lifestyle.
Do you think he would ask her first?
No, they were both on board for sure, but it just didn't work out, and unfortunately was a month of our time and energy spent. But now we are under contract again. It gets hauled out this week for survey, and this is a buyer that's going to move it out of town. He's arranged trucking, and it's going to be a good deal for him. So
it's going to a lake in Idaho that we really enjoy, so maybe we could even visit it.
Yeah. So as long as the survey's out and there's no issues with the sale, then...
But the timing on that was like crazy awesome.
Yeah, so he had asked me if anything fell through with the other buyer that please contact him right away. But he had, of course, moved on to some other boat options.
Yeah, he road tripped out here.
Road trip from Idaho all the way to the Oregon coast, and had looked at a couple of boats that day, a lot of driving, and was on his way back to Idaho, actually just passing where our boat is moored, when I called him and said, hey, the sale fell through, and if you're still interested, it's available now. And he's like, pull off the freeway, and boom, there's the boat, and he was able to get on it right away and go through it and confirm that it's something they're interested in. So fingers crossed that the survey comes out great, and we'll be able to get that off of our checklist. That would be a big milestone for us. A little bit sad, but necessary part of this whole adventure.
We've had longer than we thought, but we haven't had more time than we thought because we did have a hiccup in our scheduling this month.
Yeah, so unfortunately, my grandmother passed away, and so there was a death in the family. That took me out of town for a week, and so things kind of slowed down on a lot of different fronts, boat-wise and preparing for the loop-wise. But the good thing about that was I had a day where I was able to drive and get up the Great Lakes and actually set foot on a couple of boats. We talked about a DeFever last week, and that was great. I was able to set foot on a Cruisers 4450, which we reviewed quite early in our boat searching process. A very popular loop boat for families that are looking for 3-stateroom boat. Yeah. And so, but we've never seen one.
This was a souped up.
It was nice. It was a very good example and a very gracious owner to allow me to set foot on it.
Well, and they also had 3 offers fall through.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was under contract or close to it, and so anyway, it was a very awesome opportunity to set foot on a Cruisers 4450 because we just don't have them very commonly on the West Coast, so that was really nice. And then to compare it, because they had just listed in that same marina the DeFever that we looked at last week, and so it really got back to one of our previous videos where we asked, are we nuts? Like, what do you go for? Do you go for kind of your passion, these older boats, or do you go for the newer, more production, more
we
modern
need help.
boat?
Please put in the comments. We know that you already are, but we're just stuck because sometimes we're like, oh, it'd be so great to, be lower stress in a newer boat, and then we just, turn the key, it's always gonna go. But it's kind of blah.
Yeah, so that's one of the considerations. So we'll go through a couple of the key points, but that's one of the considerations. Turn the key and go. There's no guarantee that a 2001 to 2003 to 2005 boat is going to do that for you, but maybe it's more likely than a 1980s boat. So that's definitely a point. And then the amount of time that you take maintaining it, and how often are you down in the bilge, like replacing an AC unit or a pump, this or that, or whatever. The other thing is still this insurance market. We're seeing some people getting insurance on older 80s boats without terribly much trouble. So maybe that's a possibility these days, whereas maybe it wasn't a few months ago when we put out some applications. So can we insure it? And then also, can the buyer after us insure it is always a question. And the newer boats, 20 years and newer, are much easier to insure. It's almost a non-issue. And then resale. We keep talking and coming back to that because we don't want to be remote boat owners after our loop. So our plan is to
be our summer home.
To go buy a boat, do the Great Loop for a year, and then sell the boat after our loop. So the boat goes on to new owners, and we move back here to Portland, Oregon, probably buy another boat here.
But I do have some hope because we know of a family that's looping right now that's finishing soon in an Atlantic 47, and
that's an older 80s boat.
It's an older 80s boat, and I'm a fan of that boat, and so it's been working well for them.
Sure. No, people do it all the time. So it's totally possible. It's just a matter of, and this is why we always are in this tension of what's the best choice, which is why we started this channel.
Actually, I think that we should keep it and put it in Florida for our winter home.
No. What else? So there's resale is a lot of big deal. It's especially boats in this price range. People need help with financing, which you can't get on an 80s boat. Insurance, we already talked about. It's a particular slice of the market that even in this hot boat market, what we've observed anyway is that we can't find or set foot on or get good candidates of the 2001 to 2003, 4, 5 3 stateroom boats like the Cruisers 4450 we got on, and so because they're selling so fast, which is what we want when our loop's done, right? We want to sell it so fast.
We know that our number one, the California 48, did sell.
It just took a year.
Yeah, it took a year.
So, and that's something to be said, is those boats are already depreciated. They're not getting less valuable depreciation-wise. You're not on a steep slope of depreciation, and so maybe you can afford to sit on it in cold and warm storage in the Great Lakes for multiple seasons. I don't know. We did find out.
We can't decide.
Yeah, dry storage is probably in the $6,000 to $7,000 a winter range for that, and so you start burning cash kind of quick.
What would wet storage be?
You can't up there. You got to move it.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, cheap, right? More, it's just by marina.
Right.
You just got to move it pretty far south.
Yeah.
So, and then constantly we hear this approach of, well, you should buy a newer boat because of all these things, and if you can't afford it because it's too expensive because it's a newer boat, then you should finance the extra, and that goes against everything we believe in, really, from a financial standpoint. On FIRE family, FIRE means financial independence, retire early, and part of that whole thing is to not use debt. And so we're going to do it with cash. We would be stretched if we do it on some of the more expensive boats that we've reviewed, but we want to stand by that. We don't want to end up financing a boat. We really do want to pay cash for it, and even if we need to move some things around and whatnot, then we need to do that. And so Anyway, that's not an option. That's not something we are considering, is to finance part of a boat just for the chance of it being easier to resell at the end. We want to pay cash, and so that's what we want to do. And then really, I guess it really boils down to, do we really just buy a boat that we like because we like it and it's cool to us and our family, or is that folly and we should...
I mean, I think one of our loyal followers will just buy it after we're done. And you'll know we have maintained it very well.
That's right. Yeah.
Because it'll all be on video.
Right. So, anyway, that's what we're struggling with this month in our countdown, 11 months to our Great Loop. If you've got advice, wisdom, or know of a boat, we would love to hear from you. Thanks for joining for another week. We'll see you next week with another boat review.
Cheers.